Hello and welcome to Buildings of Tomorrow. My name is John Lester, and in this episode we'll be talking about how our surroundings can inspire and foster an ownership culture. I'm joined in the studio today by Franziska Dolak, an innovation manager at Siemens Smart Infrastructure. Franziska, thank you for joining us.
Hi, John.
We've talked a lot about our surroundings, the spaces that we spend our time in, particularly when we're at work, and the effect it can have on productivity and well-being and many other aspects. How about an ownership culture? How does this help develop an ownership culture?
I think the very first aspect that's super important is that the space is not static and it doesn't appear static. So I have to have the feeling that, first of all, I can be myself in the space. I can, I know kind of what are the rules, the values, the mindsets behind that, but that there is potentially even a possibility for me to co-create it, to make it fit to whatever I'm trying to achieve. Or being able also to flexibly change depending on how I'm feeling that day.
Okay, so as you as a person and a part of the team that's within this space, as you change or have different days with different needs and requirements, the space has to reflect that and be flexible enough to enable you to do that.
So first is the flexibility within a specific space, let's say a meeting room, that I can flexibly adapt that also in terms of atmosphere and work environment, let's say tables, chairs and whatever, fitting the need of the... Yeah, that's always nice, and glitter. Always a fan of glitter. No, but also, in the overall space, that you have different types of spaces that allow people the flexibility for whatever they're trying to do to really find the right space for that. And then really be part of co-creating in and around the space. And
when we talk about an ownership culture, what do we mean? What are the aspects behind that?
So ownership, at least for me, and I'd like to throw that question also potentially back at you, is really, first of all, right, I can be myself in that space, but I can also bring something to the space, whether it's an idea I have for a new event that we'd like to do, or thinking, hey, we should really change how the coffee area, let's say, is set up. So it could be in the big, in the small, it could be more around cultural process topic or actually physically in the space. But, me being able to take ownership and have agency in that space. So being able to basically co-create and help make it better. What is it for you?
It's relatively similar, but as we have ideas, we should be able to express them and actually create that reality. So we should have that ability, or see the ability for us to take ideas, follow through that process of solidifying and understanding what we want to achieve and what our end goal would like to be and the success or the outcomes that we would like to see, and then actually be able to make it happen. Because at home we can always make it happen. But sometimes at work, if you don't have that feeling that you have the ability to achieve that, this can be an issue.
So also being able to just do and not having to ask for permission.
Yeah, absolutely. Because like every idea has a shelf life, right? Whether it's within your own brain that you will remember or understand or keep the mindset that you were in when you came up with the idea. You can't always leave something for 6 months and then come back and reach at the same area. Yeah,
I really like that.
So the space, we know that the space can facilitate this. This is almost, and in many of the things we've spoken about, this is the foundation. Many of these changes, many of these different approaches to develop our culture and to develop our relationship and community within the workspace is based around the space. Are there any other changes or expectations that we have to achieve with these spaces?
I think you can also really create the space or set it up in a way where you can trigger people to really consciously, make their own and co-create. And we've done that, for example. So just a couple of weeks ago, we opened our innovation space, a new headquarters. And one of the things we did in the project areas where teams can move in for really time phrases of 2 weeks to maximum 3 months, is that whenever the teams go into the project space, it's empty. So, the tables, you can assemble them yourselves. You have it all on your wall. You have the chairs somewhere sitting in a corner. But basically, you're really coming into this empty space. And we did that on purpose because we wanted teams to take ownership, and we wanted them to very consciously think about, right, how do we want to work? Do you need a standing setting, a sitting? Do we need both? How is it all going to work like? Because obviously, you also have just a certain amount of space in terms of square square meters available, but really wanted them to have this somewhat team building aspect, and not just, take it as is and then potentially even complain about it all the time, but really consciously creating their own, where they can really say, hey, I'm part of the solution, this is a prototype, and then if it doesn't fit after, let's say, a couple of days, then we just go ahead and change again, because it's easy, and the space allows me to do that, and even encourages me actually to do that.
So this is the Smart Infrastructure headquarters in Zug, and you have this space that a team can come in, as you described. It's a blank canvas. It would be really interesting to see how different teams create their own space and how it looks once they're happy. I can imagine that some would look exactly the same as the office upstairs.
Yeah, and that's funny. Some teams even really start like that. It's really, really interesting, where they started setting up individual workstations, and then at some point I would come in and it's like, just asking questions like, does it really make sense? Because probably you're not always together in here. So there might be some people really working on something together, brainstorming, maybe one or two people sitting over there, but do you really want to, let's say, waste all your space by just, recreating the traditional office environment? And I found in many times it was due to the fact, first of all, many was the first time in such a space, first time of really having to think through how could it work. And many of those teams, they've never seen a different type of work environment. So how should they also know? So it was really about also, having there, once again, someone to guide you a little bit through that process, give you a few tips and tricks here and there. But also just, by me asking questions, helping them understand what is it actually that we want to do, and thus being able to, okay, now we can make it a reality. Now we can set it up the way we imagine it to be.
And this touches back to a topic we've spoken about before, how you can't turn up one day and change everything. It's a journey.
It's a journey.
And to watch those teams in a smaller environment actually have the control of that journey themselves would be a really interesting process.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for having me, John.
And thank you all for joining us here on Buildings of Tomorrow. Please feel free to comment, like, or share this episode, and ensure that you subscribe to us here on this channel. We'll see you again soon.